My dear friends, the gospel rather is very touching, very dramatic, because each of us can relate to it, connect with it very easily. Let's put this gospel in the context of the season of Lent. The season of Lent invites each of us to restore, to strengthen three kinds of relationships. My relationship with God, my relationship with myself, and my relationship with others. How do I restore or strengthen these relationships? I strengthen my relationship with God through my personal prayer, family prayer. We need to take that seriously. I strengthen and restore my relationship with myself through simple ways of fasting. Try to give up something which will help you to improve your physical health, your mental health. And something we have to try. Unless we try, we will not see the change coming in. And how do we restore the third kind of relationship with others? It is through charity, almsgiving. In simple words, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. This is the call of the season of Lent. From this context now, we go back to the gospel of the day. Today's gospel, what struck me the most is the rich man. There's nothing negative said about him in the gospel. Nothing negative. He was enjoying his life. He was blessed with riches. He was dressed in purple and fine linen, enjoying himself, partying. And therefore, the important part is, at this context, we see nothing wrong being done. But we have to move a little beyond that. When we apply to ourselves, we could say, we should not feel guilty of having a good meal or a good house or a fine home for ourselves. Don't be drowned in guilt. It's important to understand what was the mistake or the sin of the rich man was. He never saw beyond these things. His vision was limited to his own riches, his wealth. That was the sin. And what is that sin? It's a sin of omission. And this is a good reminder for all of us. The season of Lent gives us this reminder saying, please try and look beyond your own selfishness. We need to look beyond our own greed. Look beyond our own comforts and pleasures. Only then you will see whom we have to reach out to. And that is a strong reminder for all of us. Let's move ahead. When we see the sin of omission, sometimes we will feel, no, I have just limited resources. Do we still need to be charitable? Yes. From whatever we have, try and be generous. There are enough of poor people around us. There are enough of, let's say, limited amount of rich people controlling maximum 80% of the wealth in the world. We don't need to take names. Very obvious. But you and I, in our little homes that we have, can we move beyond that and be charitable? That is one invitation for us. It's also an invitation. We are called to change our attitudes in the way we handle our own riches and resources. This will help us to understand what exactly is hell. It's not a place somewhere kept reserved. No. One of the reflections is hell is a state of utter selfishness. Hell is a state of complete self-centeredness. And therefore, when we are lost in selfishness and self-centeredness, we cut away ourselves from God. We break relationship with God, with our own selves and with others. When we isolate ourselves from God, ourselves and others, that is a time we are creating hell for our own selves. This is the simplest way to understand that. And therefore we'll see in the gospel, the rich man, there's no name given to him. He somehow isolated himself from everybody. In simple ways, if we cut ourselves from everybody, we are no one. God does not acknowledge us if we cut ourselves from everyone. On the other side, you will see the poor man was given a name, Lazarus. Why? God acknowledged him. God acknowledged him. This is again a simple way to tell us we all need each other. In this world, in this society, all of us need each other. We cannot stay isolated lives. We need to live connected lives. And how do we do that? By reaching out. Take the invitation from the gospel. In your own little ways, try and help some poor person somewhere. Not just economically poor. There may be many people lonely. There are many people who are spiritually poor, who need some guidance, who need someone to listen to them. Reach out. That is the call of the gospel. And therefore, my dear friends, the gospel also reminds us God gives us to each other so that we can help each other. That's the meaning of living in society. Happiness is in giving and in receiving. The season of Lent is that invitation for us. And therefore, for me to conclude, I would focus basically the message in 3 points. First one is, from the gospel itself, the sin of the rich man was the sin of omission. Let's not try to drown our own lives in our own selfishness. Make efforts to reach out. Make efforts to be generous. That's the first one. The second message for us is, when we share, do it out of love for God. It's very important. Do it out of love for God. Not just to pacify your own guilt. Not just to pacify someone or to assuage your guilt. No. Do it out of love for God. And this is an important invitation for us. And last is, each of us are blessed in various ways. We are called to be stewards or stewardesses of our own resources, which means sharing is the invitation. The theme of today's novena is called to discern God's will together. It is a collective responsibility, my dear friends, we need to take as the church. Only when we take this collective responsibility, we will live the call of the gospel, that is, be generous. Live the gospel by reaching out to others. Through the intercession of St. Francis Xavier, this is my prayer for all of us. It may be in your own families, in your workplaces, elsewhere in our communities. I pray that St. Francis Xavier may intercede for each one of us. Amen.